Okay, let's start with the anime. The anime has like 95 filler episodes, which you probably don't want to watch because that would take away from your time, which rounds down the total as of March 2nd, 2025. There's a total of 1,122 episodes. If you count that there's 95 filler episodes according to a filler site, that means you would only have 1,027 actual episodes that are non-filler. But majority of people will probably watch the filler, and I'll include that in the time. So then inside the episode itself, there's many things that take away from you actually watching content. So there's first the Toei animation thing, which is like 14 seconds long. Then there's the actual intro song, which it takes like 2 minutes and 25 seconds, which you might not skip and actually watch because it's so good. Then there's the eye catcher, which is it's like 15 seconds, and they have a lot of them. Probably people do watch the eye catcher, and that's like for ads and commercial breaks, which is not actual content. Then after the eye catcher, there's the to be continued, which is a couple seconds, which probably people are watching. And then there's the outro song, which probably gets skipped, but a little bit you do watch, and that over time that accumulates. But if we're actually just counting the raw content, if we subtract that all out, that would just be a total of 20 minutes and 56 seconds, according to my math. Then inside the episode, there's also flashbacks constantly, which take away from you actually seeing it. Like, if you have good memory, you're going to remember what happened. You don't need a flashback. And then they also will just do nothing. Like, literally nothing. Like, if they're, like, during battles, like, they'll literally just stand and do nothing because they need to pad out the episode. And if they do nothing, then they don't have to animate that. And that's just a waste of time. So if we don't count that, I can't go through every single episode and calculate that. That'd still be 20 minutes long. So doing the math, it would take you a total of 351 hours if you don't watch any filler, if you don't watch any of those in-between segments. Don't watch the whole One Piece anime. Then we're going to talk about the manga. So obviously, it depends between reader to reader. But the One Piece manga itself, it's not that complicated of a read. It says like on Amazon is like a 300 Lexile level. So that means it's like roughly the reading level for like elementary students, but the actual like content inside of it is more for like suited for teenagers. But like it's rare that you see like a very complicated word inside of One Piece. So like I have a reading speed of like 229 words per minute because I'm like a fluent English speaker, so it doesn't take me that long. And usually it's like 1 to 2 sentences per thing. So I actually time myself reading the second chapter of One Piece, which is the equivalent in the anime, and that was a total of 7 minutes and 47 seconds, which is kind of bad. But that was because I was actually like looking at the art, which I don't think everyone does. Especially like if you have experience with One Piece after 1,000 chapters, you're probably gonna be able to read much quicker than that. So even with that abysmal reading speed, that would take me roughly 142 hours in order to complete One Piece, like the manga in total, because there's, as of March 2nd, 2025, there's 1,140 manga chapters. However, like if you're reading in another language, if you have like ADHD, it would probably take you slower. So for some people, this time would not match up with them. So like if I'm really locked in, I can probably take me like 5 minutes to read a chapter, and that would dramatically over time decrease the amount of hours it takes you to read it, the whole thing. So I originally started with the anime. I got to about episode 212, and that was like near the end of Skypiea. Okay, so it took me from September 30th, 2023, the day which I started One Piece the anime, to May 26th, 2024, in order to get through just 212 episodes. Like, during that time, I could have watched other shows, but every single day I was watching One Piece with all that filler and all that stuff. Like, this is terrible. The end was nowhere near in sight. Whereas in the span of 3 months, from November 12th, 2024 to February 27th, 2025, which is near today of recording, I read a total of 422 chapters. That's like nearly double the amount of like content that I watch in the anime, but for more than half of the amount of time passed. And like I read other stuff as well. Like I read Death Note. I didn't read all of it, but I read like pretty much all of Hunter x Hunter in that time. Like I was able to consume much more over that time. And I'm not even a fast reader. And like I would say the ending of One Piece is much more in sight now I'm able to consume the story much quicker. Just like years of One Piece all consumed. So, in my opinion, and if you really want to complete One Piece, you should definitely read the manga because you're going to save so much more time. Like during that time, you could probably read other shows, spend time with family, and do so much more other stuff. You'd probably like learn the skills to get a job in the amount of time you spend just watching the anime. Like I would say it's much more enjoyable too because it's less filler. They're actually doing stuff in the chapters, and the art is amazing to read. Yeah, so, looking at the numbers, they kind of speak for themselves. But I assume it varies series to series. Like if you're reading a much more complex narrative than One Piece, it'd be much more harder. Whereas if you're reading a much more complex narrative than One Piece, I think it'd be much more difficult to read manga, or if you have like a reading disability or English not your first language. But even then, because of the community, the manga usually has, like for any series, it usually has much more language support than in the anime because you have to it's done by the community, and that takes less time than dubbing an anime. So it's much better. So unless you have like a reading disability, majority of people, like I don't really see any reason to watch anime. It's much better just to read manga. And I think that my reading skills have improved. Like someone who's never really read books in their life, only like when forced. I would say my reading skills have improved, even though I'm reading a comic book. I'm still reading a lot of words, and even the pictures help you. They aid with the dialogue. So okay, this video is about One Piece, but like it still applies to any other anime. It shows the grueling problem of how much time you're wasting by watching anime compared to just reading the manga.